What's up with all the tattoos, man? What's going on? You got.
What? You want to know the truth?
Yes, I want to know the truth.
All right, brother. I got tired of my face, man. I had that face for 28 years. I wanted a new face.
Something major happened to him while he was locked up. And this him when he first went in. And they're saying he lost a spark in his eyes that he once had, and something majorly wrong allegedly happened to him.
Blueface comes out of prison different, and the second that clip hit the internet, everybody felt it in their chest because something is off, and not in a playful, oh, he just switched up his look way, but in that deep, unsettling spiritual way where you can't explain it, but you know what you're looking at is not the same man we watched all these years, and the scariest part is he doesn't look confused or embarrassed or even bothered. He looks disconnected, like somebody unplugged the version of him we knew and reinstalled something else. And before we get into the layers, do me a favor, hit that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe, because this one feels like one of those Hollywood stories that starts off as gossip, but ends up being a warning.
This is the new Blueface. Very, very different. There's a lot going on over here. I feel like somebody forced him to do this. This wasn't consensual.
Show me one person that ever wore a dress in Hollywood unsuccessfully. That's how you understand what a ritual is.
So let's go back, because the Blueface who walked into prison wasn't polished, wasn't humbled, wasn't emotionally balanced. He was loud, chaotic, messy, unpredictable, always tweeting, always arguing, always trolling, always fighting with Jaden, always clashing with Creasy, always chasing drama like it was oxygen. Whether you loved him or hated him, you knew exactly what energy he moved with. He walked into jail with his chest up, chin out, energy bold and careless like he thought he'd be in and out untouched. And when you compare that to the man who walked out, it's jarring. Because when the camera zoomed in on him during his release, his expression didn't say, finally free. It didn't say, I'm back. It didn't say, I learned my lesson. It said nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Second to myself. Second to myself, man. Get out of here. You know what I mean? Gotta let them know what time it is. I'm dead on. Okay.
His eyes were flat, unfocused, almost lost, like someone who saw something they still haven't processed. And then you see the tattoos, and instantly everything in your brain tilts, because instead of meaningful tattoos or gang-related symbols or something artistic, it's random corporate logos stamped across his face. Walgreens, Chase Bank, MLB, YSL, random symbols, random boxes, random shapes, literally a grid carved out across his skin, like someone sectioned off pieces of his face, like property. There's no theme, no color story, no culture, no personal meaning. It doesn't look like art. It looks like branding. It looks like someone marked him. And that's where the theories start. Because one thing inmates do, and this is well documented, is force tattoos on people as humiliation, as entertainment, as dominance, or as punishment. Sometimes they do it so the person becomes unrecognizable. Sometimes they do it as a joke. Sometimes they do it to send a message. You belong to us.
I'm sorry, brother. I didn't mean to shoot you, bro. If you seeing this, forgive me, man. It's a true apology. I took a couple classes in there too.
Yeah.
Yep, Civilization University. I went to school for that. Just a couple classes.
That's good growth, man. It's great to hear.
And these tattoos, they don't just look forced. They look intentional in the worst possible way, because the placement is too strategic, the randomness is too organized, the ugliness is too perfect. It looks like the point was to erase his identity and replace it with something meaningless. But here's where this takes a darker turn. The way Blueface is moving doesn't match someone who was just jumped or pranked in prison. He's moving like a man who went through something psychological. His posture is different. His voice is quieter, slower, almost rehearsed. His energy feels hollow. His presence feels dim. He's blinking slower. He's speaking like he's choosing every word carefully, like someone who learned the hard way what happens when he says the wrong thing. And then people started pulling up Cat Williams' interviews, the ones where he explained how humiliation rituals aren't about the dress, or the outfit, or the job. They're about breaking you. They're about stripping your power. They're about reshaping your identity into something the system controls. Show me one person who wore a dress in Hollywood unsuccessfully, Kat said.
Everybody's not the same. That's why when I said that, nobody came out and went, "That's not true. I'm on God's side." Like, none of them. The conversation was to show that there are spiritual things going on in the world, and that there are things that are bigger than just coincidence, and that a ritual is something that you do over and over and over again a certain way.
And people laughed. But the point wasn't the dress, it was the obedience behind it. It was the ritual behind it, the humiliation behind it. And when Kat talked about Baphomet symbolism, about transgender symbolism, about branding, about kissing the ring and performing submission, people said he was crazy, until suddenly all these celebrities started spiraling in ways that look less like drama and more like spiritual destruction. Britney shaving her head, Kanye hiding his face, Gucci Mane coming back looking like a clone, Orlando Brown speaking in riddles, and now Blueface walks out of prison with corporate logos carved into his face like someone stamped him with ownership tags. You can't tell me that doesn't feel symbolic, because humiliation isn't always loud, sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's a series of symbols the public doesn't understand, but insiders do. Sometimes it's the shift in energy, not the act itself. And Blueface's energy, it feels broken. Even the way he apologizes randomly online, that clip where he says, "I'm sorry, brother. I didn't mean to shoot you. Forgive me." That doesn't sound like Blueface. That sounds like a man who had to confront his actions in a place that offers no mercy.
You know, out in Hollywood, a lot of people come up missing. Feels like it might be a lot of that in order to control, traumatize. They want to monetize and traumatize.
That sounds like a man who was humbled violently. That sounds like a man who was sat down by reality harder than any viral moment ever could. And then there's the weight gain. Yes, it's normal to gain weight in prison, but not like this. Not with this posture, not with this facial expression, not with this kind of heaviness that looks like someone who ate but never rested, someone who survived but didn't heal, someone who endured but didn't escape. Because the Blueface who walked out does not look rested, he looks exhausted, spiritually tired, physically altered, psychologically dimmed. And when you pair that with the tattoos, with the stare, with the shake in his voice, with the way he avoids eye contact, with the way he scans the room like someone who doesn't trust the air around him, it's undeniable that something happened. Whether it was inmates marking him for humiliation, whether it was guards using him for entertainment, whether it was isolation breaking him mentally, whether it was threats, whether it was trauma, whether it was a forced branding ritual like Cat Williams, hints at something changed him, something cracked him open, something rearranged the frequencies inside him. And here's the part that gives people chills. What if he wasn't the target? What if he was the message? Because sometimes the system doesn't break someone because they're important, it breaks them because someone else is watching. It breaks them to warn. It breaks them to humble. It breaks them to remind everyone else what can happen when you become more trouble than you're worth. And the industry is watching Blueface right now. Prison is watching him. Fans are watching him. The streets are watching him. Everybody is looking at the same face and feeling the same vibe. This isn't the same man who walked in. Something happened to him in there. Something that marked him physically and spiritually. Something that made his whole aura feel foreign. Something that carved new behavior into him. Something that branded him in a way ink alone can't explain. And that's why the internet is scared. Not because of the tattoos, but because of the emptiness behind them. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think this was inmate humiliation? A survival tactic? A breakdown? A ritual? A warning? Or is Blueface telling us a silent story with his new face, one we're not supposed to understand? Something is off, and this time, it's not the drama, it's him. And the craziest part is that Blueface doesn't even seem aware of how different he looks, or maybe he is, and that's what makes his energy so tense. When people go through something traumatic, especially in prison, one of the biggest signs is detachment. That blank stare, that distant tone, that forced calmness that looks more like survival mode than peace. And watching him sit on live, slow blinking, rubbing his face like he's trying to adjust to being watched again, you can feel that something about his time inside grabbed him mentally and won't let go. The tattoos aren't even the scariest part, it's the way he touches them, almost subconsciously, like someone who's still trying to process the memory behind them. And when he says, "I took a couple classes in there," it hits different because he says it with this strange mix of nervous humor and hidden pain, almost like he's trying to distract from something he experienced that he's not ready to talk about yet. It's the way he keeps repeating that he's focusing on himself, that he's on a different level, that he's civilized, but his eyes aren't matching the words. That mismatch is what keeps people glued to him, because the truth is peeking through his voice, even when he's trying to sound normal, and that truth is loud. Whatever happened inside didn't stay inside. It's still sitting on his shoulders, wrapped around his spirit, reshaping the way he moves through every single moment since coming home, and no amount of jokes or social media posts can hide that. And on top of everything, you can't ignore the timing of all this. Blueface didn't just come home during a calm moment, he came home right as the drama between Jaden, Krizayan, and his entire brand exploded into chaos, almost like the world outside was waiting to test the version of himself he was forced to become inside. And watching him try to navigate the madness now feels like watching someone who isn't prepared for the life he's stepping back into. It's almost like prison rewired him into someone quieter, more hesitant, more observant, and now he's being thrown straight back into the type of loud, toxic, unpredictable energy that used to fuel him, but now clearly overwhelms him. The old Blueface would have jumped online, made jokes, sparked fights, stirred everything up. This version looks uncomfortable in his own skin, like he's carrying a weight nobody else can see. And maybe that's the scariest part. Not the tattoos, not the theories, not the changes in his voice, but the silence in his spirit. Because when someone comes out of prison gone in the eyes, marked on the face, and softer in their energy, the body might be free, but the mind is still locked up in whatever happened to them behind those walls. And that's why everybody keeps saying the same thing. Blueface didn't just serve time. Time did something to him, and the marks on his face are only half the story. The rest is written in the parts of him he's trying so hard not to show.